This video will show you how to make grouping and aggregation dynamic. That is, how to allow a user to change the properties of grouping and aggregation in charts, crosstabs, and other grouping components. First, it's important to point out that charts and crosstabs provide ad hoc editors that end users can use to change the grouping and aggregation properties. To see this, preview the dashboard here, and observe that both the chart and the crosstab have an edit button at the top right corner. The edit button for the chart opens the chart editor and allows users to change the fields used on the X and Y axis, the fields used in the visual panel, and so on. So for example, if a user wanted to change the grouping on the X axis from state to date, they could simply drag the date field onto the X axis, replacing the state field. Likewise, if they wanted the Y-axis to display the average quantity purchased rather than the sum total, they could drag the quantity purchased field onto the total field in the Y-axis region to replace the total with the quantity purchased. Then press the Edit Measure button and switch the aggregation method from sum to average. Likewise, if they wanted to break out the data further, say by region, they could drag the region field down to the color field, or the shape field, or size, or text, to break out the data on that dimension. The same ad hoc editing features are available for a crosstab. The user can press the Edit button in the top right corner of the crosstab, and again change the properties of the grouping and aggregation in the crosstab. For example, replacing the company field in the row header with the category field, or switching the date grouping level from year to month. The grouping in the crosstab is now based on category and month rather than company and year. These ad hoc editing features are available to end users by default. In some cases, however, dashboard designers may not want to provide these ad hoc editing features to end users. In this case, you can turn off the ad hoc editing features by right-clicking on the chart or crosstab, selecting Properties, and under the Advanced tab, disabling the ad hoc editing setting. You can still make grouping and aggregation in dashboard components dynamic by providing form components for the user to enter their grouping and aggregation choices. For example, if you want the user to be able to choose between state, category, and company on the X-axis, you can provide a form element, for example a combo box, that will allow the user to make this selection. Drag the combo box component into the dashboard, then right-click on the combo box and select Properties. Provide a meaningful name for the combo box. In the List Values panel, you can enter the list of values that will appear in the combo box for the user to select. However, because the combo box will provide the user with a choice of field names, it's easier to close the Properties dialog box and simply drag the desired field names into the combo box. To do this, find the fields in the dataset and drag them one by one into the combo box. You can see that the combo box is now populated with the selected field names. To further modify this list, you can return to the Properties dialog box for the combo box and press the Edit button in the List Values panel to open the label and value mapping. Keep in mind that the labels are arbitrary, but the values do need to match the field names in this case. We can now use this combo box to control the grouping on the X-axis. To do this, open the chart editor and press the pop-up button next to the X-axis region. Select the variable option, and then from the menu, select the combo box name. This specifies that the value selected in the combo box will be used to set the field that is displayed on the X-axis. The user can now use this combo box to control the grouping on the X-axis. You can use a similar approach to allow the user to select the measure that's displayed on the Y-axis. Let's add two additional controls, one that will allow the user to select between total and quantity purchased as the measure, and another control that will allow the user to select between sum and average as the method of aggregation. We'll use a combo box for the measure, again, dragging a combo box into the dashboard, and populating it with the names of the fields that we want the user to select from: quantity purchased and total. Right-click to set the properties for the combo box, in this case setting a meaningful name, and making a slight edit to the label so that it will fit better in the combo box. Of course, you can always resize the combo box as necessary to accommodate larger labels. Let's also add a form element to allow the user to select the aggregation method, sum or average. This time we'll use a radio button, and add sum and average as the options. Right-click on the radio button, select Properties, provide a meaningful name for the radio button, and then in the List Values panel, select the Embedded option and press the Edit button. Again, the labels are arbitrary, but the values need to match legitimate aggregation methods. Press OK, and press OK. We can now make the measure displayed on the y-axis dynamic by using the Measure combo box and the aggregation method radio button. To do this, open the chart editor again, and next to the total field on the y-axis, press the pop-up button and select Variable. This time from the menu, select Y-axis measure. This specifies that the value that the user enters in the Y-axis measure combo box will be used to set the field that's displayed on the Y-axis. Press the Edit Measure button next to the Y-axis region to set the aggregation method. In this case, instead of selecting a fixed aggregation method, press the pop-up button next to the Aggregate property and select again Variable. From the menu, select the aggregation method radio button to supply the value of the aggregation method. Press the green Apply button to make the changes. The user can now change the measure displayed on the y-axis, as well as the aggregation method for the measure, by using the available combo box and radio button. You can format all of these controls as desired and provide meaningful titles. You can make the grouping in the crosstab dynamic in the same way. For example, you can allow the user to select the grouping field used in the row header based on the dimension combo box, and you can allow the user to select the measure displayed in the crosstab based on the measure combo box. To do this, press the Edit button at the top right corner of the crosstab, and next to the company row header, press the pop-up button and select Variable. Choose the X-axis dimension combo box to set the row header. To use the Measure combo box to set the measure, press the pop-up button next to the Total field and select Variable. Here, select the Y-axis measure to use the Measure combo box to set the measure for the crosstab. To allow the user to use the radio button to control the aggregation method, click on the measure, press the pop-up button next to the Aggregate property and select Variable. Here, select the aggregation method radio button to allow the radio button to set the aggregation method for the crosstab. Press the green Apply button to make the changes to the crosstab. Note that the Dimension combo box now sets the row header field for the crosstab, the Measure combo box sets the measure for the crosstab, and the Method radio button allows the user to select the aggregation method for the crosstab.